Hello and welcome back to another part of Design Your Own Level tutorial. In this particular video, we will be creating one of the side tables that was set up inside of Mirror's Edge Catalyst, one of these. Now, it's a fairly straightforward and easy process, and this will not really take much of our time, but it is a slightly easier object to make than the others, and seeing as how we keep on creating the more complex items, I figured just something easy would be a little bit better. So let's just jump straight into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my corner couch here as reference. So I'm just going to hide the high poly one. And then I'm going to add a UV sphere. Oh, sorry, not a UV sphere, a circle. Let's just go there. There we go. I'm going to add a circle. And I think I'm going to increase this to 60. That's too little. Let's do 32 sides. It is just one item, so push enter. There we go. So now I can position this to where it should be, and then I'm going to scale this down. And the bottom part normally starts off fairly small, so let's go zoom in. I'm just going to make it something like that. And that looks okay. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude. Sorry, tab into edit mode first, E to extrude, and then I'm going to scale it in. Then move it up a bit. And then we could do something all the way to about there. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude again and do that. But now that might not look well or too good. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this by holding Alt and right clicking, and then hit Control B to bevel. And then we're going to add in a couple of curves, and we're going to move it out slightly so that it actually covers like quite a large portion. And there we go. I think that is sufficient. My normals also seem to be inverted, so once again, there we go. And then I'm going to enable smooth shading. And that looks pretty good. You can add a couple of more details in there if you really want to. It all depends on what you are going for. And then I'm just going to take this part again and then move it up. I think it's going to go slightly above where that is. I think something along the lines of that. And I'm going to hit E to extrude again. And then I'm going to scale this out to about the size of what I want the table to be, and then move it up like this. Maybe we can actually move this down as so. And then I'm going to repeat the same process, Control B, and I bevel it out. And there we go, that looks pretty good. It might differ slightly. I think my base is a little bit thicker than the one inside of Mirror's Edge, as you can see over there. That does actually look very thin for the type of table that it is. So I can roll with it, or we can just, if it will allow me, there we go, we can just actually try and scale this down. But I think the way it looks, it's okay, it's fine. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And then I just want to go and select this side over here. I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I think I'm going to just scale this in slightly because I don't know if I want to give it like a round corner. So this all really depends on what you want to do. If you want to give it like a round, slightly round edge, and then E to extrude again, and then Alt M and merge it center. And there we go. Alright, so that actually came out pretty good. We can probably add a bit more of a curve to it if we want. Alright, that looks good. I think I'll go with that. And then for the bottom piece, I am literally just going to extrude, move that down. Let's see. And then extrude again and hit Alt M and merge it center. And there we go. So now I just want to move this up one so it actually is level with the floor. And that is our side table complete. So now you can actually fool around with this. You can scale it up or down. You can change this midpoint if you want. But we also need to just UV unwrap it. So I'm just going to quickly just split off this area. Go into the UV image editor. I'm just going to hold Alt and right click, and I'm going to hit Control E, and I'm going to mark a seam. And then I think I'm going to do this with the bottom edge over here. Mark a seam, and we can just do unwrap and just see what that looks like. Alright, so it actually unwrapped everything into circles. So you can see that the circle over here, that's that one there, and then this circle over here, that's everything that goes all the way up to there, and then that is that circle. And for this type of model, that's actually not too bad, but you'll see that it does have like a slight problem over there. So we might just have to add a seam in here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift and right click, zoom out, and then pretty much I'm just going to follow that line. I think actually I must just go into front view and then go from here. Shift, right click, and then hold Control and right click, and then it will select in the straight line. Hit Control E, we're going to mark a seam, and let's try and unwrap this again. I just want to see if it actually did mark the seams all the way from the one point to the other. Right, it did. So I don't quite understand what it's doing over here, but let's try something else. Let's do the Smart Project. Okay, Smart Project actually doesn't look all that bad. They are the edges. And once again, you would have to just look at what you're going to do with your model. Are you going to texture it, or are you just going to apply a reflective material onto it? If you look at Mirror's Edge, this just looks like a normal object with a reflective material. Now, once again, not every single object has to have a normal map on it. I mean, normal maps in older games were fairly non-existent. You could replace it with geometry detail if you really wanted to, and that's what we're doing here. We're adding a lot of geometry detail so that it is smooth around the edges, so that we don't have to use a normal map to add smoother details or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to go with the Smart UV Project, but we can just like try a little bit more. UV unwrap. I just actually really want to see why it's doing that part over there. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to select like the entire line all the way from there, and then the entire line all the way from there, and then we're going to mark a seam. Let's try to unwrap that. Okay, that looks significantly better. Essentially what we did is we split the model in half. So well, let's go with that. I'm just going to pack the islands. There should actually be margins here. So we can actually just do that ourselves. Linked, I'll grab that. I'm just going to move it out. Linked. Okay, all of these actually linked. Okay, they are. I think they're linked by one vertex over there. I'm going to rotate this, move it up, and I'm going to scale it down a bit. Actually, I think that I could take these two and grab them and maybe stack them over here. There we go. And so, while the detail isn't really going to matter for the type of material that we're going to use, it's just always nice to actually keep everything nice and tidy. So these are not the base normal maps. I would like to straighten them out a bit, but for, once again, what type of model we are using, they are going to be perfect, and we don't need to worry about that at all. Okay, so that essentially is this table done. So I'm just going to give it a name here quickly. I'm just going to call it the side table. I'm going to select it and I'm going to export it to Unreal Engine 4. So all the options are still selected objects, geometries, edge, and then disable the leaf bones. And I'm going to call this side table. Click export. We'll jump over to Unreal. There we go. Okay, just going to close that out. As you can see, this is our level taking shape. I'm going to go over to my models folder, click import. Now, if you didn't actually see this part, how we just cleaned everything up in the previous video, we did take a little bit of a break from creating, and we just like set up our folders so that we can just easily find everything. So in my models folder, I'm going to click import, and it was the side table. There we go, click import. Just going to drag it straight into the world. But now that is the one part that we might have to fix a little bit later. Remember again that our pivot point is the center of the Blender world. So let's quickly fix that without, let's delete that one before we continue. I want to center this model in the center of the world. There we go. And then I'm just going to export it again and just overwrite. Jump back into Unreal, import. And now we should see, there we go, that's much better. Okay, so now we can move the table to close over there. And we can create a new material for this, or we can just go with one of the materials that we have created before. So we can go over to materials, and this black one that we have over here that we created for the table, we can just utilize that. Okay, there's an airplane coming over. I do apologize for that. And if we look at it, that looks pretty good. I am happy with the results on that, so I'm going to click save. Close that out, and if we hit play, we can just actually see what that looks like. The table's a bit small due to Unreal having strange scaling, so we'll just scale that to our default 1.25 that we've been going with. Let's hit play again. And there we go. As you can see, it's reflecting everything because we had like a reflection volume up there. And that looks pretty good. We can maybe tone down on the reflections a little bit. You can see this isn't that highly reflective. But the reason probably why this isn't highly reflective is because the room is slightly darker. So it all really depends. We could probably create a new material for it. So we can copy this material and then just fool around so that everything doesn't look so shiny. But there we go. We've created another one of our assets. And if we go into our list, I just like to add like these stars just to say what I have done. Now this list isn't like in a particular order. So you can see that we have created 4 items so far, but from those 4 items, we have added additional details, like for instance of the pipes, and it's starting to fill in the world. If we just like add a texture to these walls at the current moment, then we're going to start seeing a lot more detail than what we did before. So the level is starting to kind of fill itself out. It's starting to look good. So we'll continue this process in the next video, and maybe we'll like pick one of the other items. The smaller items like these are fairly basic to create. I think one of the other videos, the most complex one that we have is going to be creating a chair like this. Even though it doesn't seem like it, it seems very basic. That is probably in this entire scene, that is probably the most complex item in the entire scene, these 2 chairs. So, if you guys like what you saw, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.